Hi, welcome to Battleground Believers. Welcome back this week. Amazing. Chaz Garcia decided to join us in the studio again. Again, we want to, if you look around, you notice that Matt Carter's not here. Matt Carter, we shared this on the last episode. He's dealing with some medical issues, and I'm going to let him lay that out next time he's in the studio. But this morning, he wasn't able to be with us. We want to continue to pray for him and his family, and protection and healing, and that God's will be done in that. Again, we want to thank Randy Barr for being our producer and the use of the 2 Bar Blue studio. We thank you so much for that. At some point, we'll get some contact information. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that so he's not getting all kinds of crazy calls in the middle of the night. But at some point, we'll give some contact information so you can utilize the studio to make music or shoot whatever you kind of want to. So, again, thank you, Randy. Again, today, Chaz Garcia is with us, from Arizona. He just moved here from Arizona to Indiana, and quite a culture shock when we're driving around. He's some of the stuff that he's kind of like amazed by, I'd never noticed because I grew up in this area. It's really actually given me an opportunity to relook at where I live and go, yeah, this is actually a pretty cool place, and there's some really cool things here. It's not just a patch of trees. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, your trees are green here instead of brown.
Yeah, instead of brown. But I went to Arizona, and I loved Arizona. And all I wanted to see was one of them cactus, and right. I saw one.
Right.
Because we're in Sedona, and they don't really have those up there. But again, we're going to continue the conversation right now. Met Chaz and had some conversation. Again, he has a thing on YouTube where he shared his story, and that kind of sparked the idea to say, hey, why don't you come in and tell us your story? And we want to show everybody, telling his story through your story. That's our tagline, and the idea is this. I was this way. I had an encounter with Jesus or a crisis moment. I got saved or changed, became a believer, and now I'm this way. And that's the whole thing of this podcast is fulfilling the Great Commission, going forth and preaching the gospel to all the world. Gospel means good news. And that's what we want to show, that if Chaz can be one way and change, if Brad can be one way and change, if Matt can be one way and change, anybody can do it. And there is good news. There is hope and faith and love out there. And there is good versus evil. And we want to spread the good. So back at it. Yep. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate your time so much. I know you're kind of busy with life and getting adjusted and your new job, and your family's still back in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So we continue to pray for them to sell his house, and that his wife and child will be able to be out here with you. I think life will change. Oh, yeah. Dramatically for you, and you seem to be adjusting well at work and really coming along and making strides and really doing good things there from my understanding. But last week when we left off, we had just kind of talked about that you had hurt your back, weightlifting. We used to look a lot different than this.
Yeah, that makes it sound a lot cooler than it actually was. So the doctor said that it had to have happened at that point, but when I felt it, I was putting on my pants.
I believe it or not, I get that because I wake up in the morning, I roll over, and I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm not walking today, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt a small click, and I was like, oh man. And then I went to put my shoes on, and I was like, oh man, and ended up having a couple herniated discs that I had to have surgery on. And yeah.
So you hurt your back. We're gonna say weightlifting because that sounds way cooler than I put on my shoes.
100% weightlifting.
So but you have to stop fighting fires, right?
100%. Yeah.
Did you have to go through surgeries or anything, or did you just have to heal?
No, I did have a surgery. Took me a really long time to actually get to the point where they had done all the testing and things like that. It was close to 3 months by the time. And when I went to see the doctor, he said, if I could cut you open today, I would, but I can't. So Monday morning, you're here and you're on the table.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Yeah. So I actually spoke to a specialist a few years ago, and he was like, man, we get to see cases like this in the book, but we never get to see them in real life. And so.
Like you saw a specialist not too long ago, or you talking about at that time?
A few years after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was my disc was herniated so bad that it was pinching off my nerves, and they thought there could be permanent, long-lasting damage, and there wasn't. So I guess I'm a medical miracle.
Well, yeah, praise God.
Yeah.
Right? Because I believe this since the day I met you, and I believe this about everybody. But God has a plan and purpose for us.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I believe He has a plan and purpose for you. We've talked about some stuff that you kind of thought, and but maybe God protected you because His plan and purpose needed you to be able to do that.
For sure.
So hurt your back, change professions, and start building doors and windows.
Yep.
And the guy promised you the moon,
Yep.
and didn't pan out. So let's kind of pick up the story there. So your wife and you, do you felt like at that time you guys had faith, but like separate faith? Like, hey, I'm a Christian, but you never really brought it together? Or did you guys talk about faith? Did you talk about the Bible?
Yeah, some for sure. You know, anytime I was learning something new, I would share it with her for sure. I think that she though had that like I know type of faith, right? Where I was like, I think maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean.
So I think that was the big difference, right? She would say that, you know, God has this, and she knew that God has this, and I would say God has this, and I'm like, man, I sure hope God has this. You know what I mean? So
I absolutely. I still that some days. I'm like, I know the Lord has this, but I'm going to make some plans over here just in case.
yeah, man, I think that's where we shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So working, making doors and windows. Where do we go from there?
So this was COVID time, right? Obviously, end of 2021, November was. So we were at my son's birthday party at the bowling alley, I think, which is where I got sick. So we November 30th, I think is what it was. I called into work because I had a fever that lasted for ever. It felt like I had like 104 fever for up until I went into the hospital on December 12th of that year. So just really bad. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. You know, for a while it felt kind of normal. Matter of fact, it was I broke the fever like maybe 3 or 4 days later, and then I was able to take my son to the light parade, and the next day, bam, it hit me again, and it hit me hard, man, and it did not let up. And that was when I actually, you know, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I was like just losing weight like crazy, just laying in bed, couldn't do anything. I had this horrible cough.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep, and it got to the point to where I knew that COVID was going to kill me. You know, I talked a big game about how COVID wasn't anything, and this and that, and it was like, well, here I am. Let's see how you maintain. You know.
Yeah.
So I actually went into the hospital on the 9th to the emergency room, and there was nobody there, which was crazy. But I sat there for 3.5, 4 hours or so. And I was just hurting so bad.
You were by yourself, like your family was back home, right? You were by yourself.
Well, my wife was in the parking lot, so they wouldn't let her in. Yeah. So so I go in and I'm just sitting. They did a COVID test. They did the swab or whatever, and then that was it. I didn't see anybody else for all that time. And you know, so I get up and I start to walk out the door, and the security guard's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna go home and take my chances. I can't sit here anymore. I'm miserable." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I took off. And 3 days later, I hadn't slept. I was hallucinating because I couldn't sleep, and I told my wife again. I think it was like 6 a.m. or so on the 12th, and I said I got to go back. I can't breathe. Like something's like really wrong. So before that, kind of a little backstory. My mother-in-law had gave me some stuff about keeping faith when you're, you know, in bad situations and things like that. And one of the things that was in there was Psalm 30, verse 2, "O Lord, my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me." And, you know, I was trying to use that to kind of keep my spirits up while I was at home, and it just wasn't working, man.
Yeah.
I was just in such a bad way that it didn't help. So I go back. They let me know that I had COVID because the test that I took on the 9th. The guy comes back, and I've got the mask on, and he says I got to do an EKG on you. So we go back to do the EKG, and I can't breathe. And I'm like, dude, I can't wear this mask. And he says, well, take it off. Just don't cough on me, please. So I take it off, and we're sitting there, and I'm just kind of in and out of it, and he says that he's like, man, you're over 204, and I'm like, no, man, I'm at least 300 pounds, and he's like, no, your heart rate is 204.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? So he takes me back to the COVID waiting area. There's me and another guy in there. And like I was saying, I feel like I have faith. I know that Jesus is real. I know God is real. I know that they work wonders in our lives, right, and things like that. But every time I say a prayer, I get that little kind of butterfly feeling in my stomach, like, is it going to happen? You know what I mean? So sometimes my faith may not be where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I go back out and I'm scared, and I think, man, this is it. They're gonna put me in here and put that tube in me, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll never see my family again. So my wife is outside, and I didn't know at the time, but she's outside praying that I'm not admitted. And then I'm inside, and the only thing I can think to do is say Psalm 30 verse 2, and man, I must have said it, felt like 1,000 times out loud, as loud as I could speak at the time when I feel like I'm so close to death, and the other guy in the waiting room was looking at me like I'm nuts. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but they finally come, they call me back, and I still feel horrible, and the doctor comes in and he shows me they do x-rays and all that stuff. He shows me the x-ray of my lungs, and the only thing I can say is it looked like galaxies in space, right? There's dark, and then there's these big white splotches, and he's like, well, that's the COVID. He said that I didn't have pneumonia, which was good, but when I read the report after the fact, it says that I had COVID pneumonia, so I'm not sure exactly how that worked. But what he told me in these words, he said, we're going to send you home, and you're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. And they sent me home with oxygen, and
pretty much good luck.
100%, yeah. So I wasn't admitted, right? So my wife's prayer was answered, and I got home, and they gave me like some cough medicine and then oxygen at home, and I slept for, I don't know how long it was, but my wife had a chair set up beside the bed that I had been sitting in, so I fell asleep in that with my oxygen on, woke up, and I had no clue where I was, no clue what was going on. I was crying, and she had to come and like calm me down, you know what I mean? And from that moment, I just started to get better, man. Just out of nowhere, from going to knowing I was going to die to getting better.
So you in your mind, you're like, hey, I need to make sure I'm gonna make this.
Yeah, 100%. Thinking about all the time I wasn't gonna get to spend with my grandkids and my kids and
or meet me.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, man, there's this guy in Indiana I'm not even gonna get to see. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just from literally like a light switch, man. One to the other.
Well, you finally. The way the story's coming off to me is you when you got home, you finally slept and your body got a chance to rest.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
And do you feel like it was super? And I don't mean to keep interrupting, but do you feel like that maybe there was a supernatural, like God's like, okay, sleep.
100%. Well, I guess it could have been that, but I know that the way that I felt when I walked in and the way that I felt when I walked out was night and day, and they didn't do anything. So
just understand, when you walked in, you felt this way. Walking out, you felt this way. When you walked in, you felt bad. When you walked out, you felt okay, or vice versa.
Yeah. When I walked in, I knew that I was gonna die. When I walked out, I was like, okay, maybe I got a shot. So
Psalms, what's the Psalm?
30 verse 2.
You think that? Do you believe? And I would kind of think maybe God recognized that, hey, even in your worst moments when you were miserable, you cry. There's a scripture that says that the Holy Spirit intercedes for us when we don't have words, right? And I think about that all the time. And some people worry about how they sound when they pray, or did I say the right prayer? And I don't think what God's looking at, I mean, I think he does look at our words, but at the intentions behind it. And if the only thing you knew to pray was that psalm, and that's all you could pray, he translated that more than just those words.
Yeah.
Like I think the Holy Spirit said, hey man, he's praying this prayer. What he needs is he wants to see his wife, he wants to see his kids, he wants to see his grandkids. Yeah. And I think that's kind of amazing, because some people worry. Like, what do I say?
I didn't have the
The words.
capacity to worry at the time. You know what I mean? It was just like, this was my kind of last ditch effort. Like, I don't know what else to do. And like I said, I feel sometimes my faith isn't where it should be, but at the time, my faith said, just do this. You know what I mean? And it worked out. And I mean, like, you know, the Psalm says, I cried out to you and you healed me, right? And that's what happened. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of scripture that talk about crying out to the Lord. And there's several stories where they cried out to the Lord. And so real hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, so you come out, you go home, you sleep, you wake up, you're terrified. Your wife comes in and calms you down. And then from that day, you started steadily getting better. You're talking about
Slowly.
physically, right? Slowly?
Yeah, slowly, very slowly.
So you're coming out of the sickness. During that time, did you think, man, I really got to, maybe God really had, are you starting to change, your spiritual life starting to change?
If you would have walked in, you would have seen the glow from the fire that was in me at that point. It was pretty
You wanted
crazy.
to tell the whole world what God did.
Man,
for you, right?
I was praying for, like, I didn't have anything to do, right? I'm on oxygen. I can't go anywhere. I get up to brush my teeth, and I feel like I'm going to pass out if I don't have the oxygen on, right? Another thing, which I failed to mention, my oxygen was in the low 70s, which is super low, right?
Yeah, my mother-in-law was.
Yeah, 89, they tell you need to go to the hospital, right? So I was in the low 70s. So yeah, I put out a thing on Facebook, like, hey, if you need prayer, right? I wasn't doing anything else and reading my Bible and praying for everybody. So I would put out a big prayer in the morning and on Facebook, and I was sharing music and just lit up, man. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, so you picked to choose you fulfilled the Great Commission in a different way. The only way you could.
Right.
Right? Sometimes, I think sometimes when we look at God's mission, we think, hey, I got to be a missionary. I got to fly and land in some foreign country, or I have this mission that I got to do. And sometimes it's merely, praying, I spoke at a senior citizen home one time, and I talked about that, hey, your mission may just be to pray. To pray for others. That may be what God has for you right now, because where you're at, a guy like me or you, we're younger, we're a little healthier. Our mission may be actually go out and do these things. So everybody has a mission, and the fact that you're sitting around the house, you're not just watching Netflix and enjoying TV shows, but you actually made it a mission. Like, hey, in this state, I'm going to do this. Right. So now you start to come out of that, and did that, I would say, that radically affected your life and changed you and your relationship with the Lord then?
Oh yeah. Lasting change to me, right? Even when I have those moments where I'm kind of messing up a little bit and not, reading like I should or praying like I should, right? That solidified my faith 100%. So, like I said, still don't know what the reason was that he kept me around. Maybe it's, little stuff like this. Maybe it's something bigger. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely. After that, as a matter of fact, in May of that year, I went and got baptized on my own, and it was awesome. So,
Cool.
So yeah, but yeah, I just like I said, I was praying for everybody, preaching everything that I could. Thought for a minute that maybe I should be like arguing with folks online about it, and that I didn't feel comfortable with that. So. But yeah, definitely changed my faith for the better. And it showed me that even though I feel sometimes that my faith is not where it should be, just the act of what I did, which was crying out to God in my, what was, 100% my worst moment, he answered, right? So him seeing that like he's at his last bit, and this is what he's doing, right? He's crying out to me instead of, just sitting in the misery, I guess. It definitely showed that I do have the faith, right? My actions showed that my faith is there, even though sometimes I feel like it's not. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And again, we have a forgiving God. Not that we can just do anything we want to, but we're human beings, right? We're going to make mistakes. Emotions, we have an enemy that's attacking us spiritually sometimes, and sometimes it's hard to just keep your footing. And the one thing I noticed about the Lord is when we walk away from God, he doesn't, Like we might feel like we're here, but the reality is he's standing right behind us.
Yeah.
And all we got to do is turn right around.
Yeah.
We may feel like we're 1,000 miles from the Lord, but the moment you turn, man, he's right there to come in and have that relationship with you. Because he that's all he wants, right? Is that relationship.
Yeah.
And then out of that relationship is why we spread the gospel and why we tell people about Jesus. We want people to know.
Yeah.
Not because God said you're going to do this, but because of the relationship we have.
Yeah.
So, interesting story. So now you come out, you're healthy, and you're living in Arizona. Does that affect your work life? Does it? I mean, one thing you shared with me when we were talking is you're like, I feel like God wants me to do something. Are you still praying about that? Like, hey, what should I do? I'm looking for. Are you looking for ministry, or are you waiting for God to speak, or?
Yeah, I guess kind of, right. And I do when I think about it, but excuse me. But other times I have other things going on, I guess. You know what I mean? So
Well, you're in a serious transition, right?
yeah.
Wife on the other side of the country, wife
Yeah.
and child on this, which I know just like I had gone away for work for a week. By the end of the week, all I wanted to do was come home, see my wife, kids,
Right.
you know. And it's kind of open-ended, like when this happens, and you're learning a new area, learning a whole new life.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, you're just trying to get your footing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think once all that kind of comes into line, I think you'll find your niche. I really feel like God has a plan for you. Maybe a part of Battleground Believers, or maybe something else.
Yeah.
But He spared you for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that's not the only time. So I don't know. Maybe you guys have me back, and I'll let you know about the other time. So I've actually had this happen twice. So this is one of them. So
Oh, okay.
So that one I keep a little closer to the vest. So, but yeah. So another time after the 2021 one, I actually had another situation. So he's kept me around twice through something pretty gnarly. So. I definitely think there is something. I don't know what it is. I haven't heard him say what it is. I feel like he's led me into, that it's talking to people. I'm really comfortable speaking. I used to, do all the trainings and everything at work, and I feel comfortable speaking in front of people. I don't know that it's ministry. I don't know that I could run a church or anything like that, but definitely telling people who God is. I'm almost sure it has something to do with that, but
Well, just because you're not a full-time pastor, we're just two dudes,
yeah,
and we kind of felt like this vision was laid upon us, and we hope to get a chance to speak at churches and have evangelism nights, and that's part of this ministry. But God, I could tell God has a plan and a purpose for your life, like through talking and just kind of your demeanor and our time together. But I feel like I got this impression, like you have this message inside of you, right? Like I have this message that I want to share the world.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with the world. What is that message? Do you have a message? And if it is, what's your message to the world? What would you tell the world? And you're going to, because we have like 100,000 or 20 or 50, 60 followers.
There we go. That's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just that Jesus is real, and if you put your faith in Him, He will show you that, right? I think it goes back to the original message that I heard, was that it doesn't matter who you believe in, what you believe, what religion you are. If you ask Jesus to show Himself to you, He will, and I think that's part of it, right? Maybe it's spreading that to all these people that believe in something else, like Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And if you ask Him to show you that He is those things, that He definitely will. And this is coming from somebody who, like I said, broken home and drugs and all that stuff, and I didn't do that into my adulthood, I guess. I stopped right after childhood was over, but I think I did enough of it for a lifetime, right? And and I'm here today, and most recently, I think one of my greatest achievements was that my oldest son became a believer. So
Nice.
that was kind of my crowning victory so far, I guess, is being able to.
This is generational now.
Yeah, 100%. He's got his first Bible. He's studying. I started a Bible study with him and my younger son, my daughter's boyfriend that we're in. So we just started that last week. So it's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. So like you like Skype or FaceTime
Yeah.
and do it, and you're still doing it even though you're.
Yep.
Man,
Even
that
though
is
we're away. So
that is pretty cool. I didn't know that. That is actually really cool. And I think that's kind of the heart of Jesus, right? That in Acts, what they did is they just met, spent time together.
Yeah.
And it said that they added to their numbers daily.
Yeah.
And I think that's the essence of faith in Christianity. It's not, and I don't fault people for this. I'm not that guy, stand on the corner with a big sign and screaming at people, hey, you need to come to Jesus. But those, for instance, your little group right there, and if each one catches a flame and goes out, imagine the exponential growth just
Right.
because you thought, you know what, I'm going to take an hour a week or whatever you're spending with your family and say, hey, these I'm going to pour into these kids. And then anybody I meet, I'm going to pour into those people.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, going from, hey, I'm going to die to, hey, now I want to spread the gospel. And to me, you come off real genuine. Like you didn't have an agenda. We talked and we kind of talked about faith, and then you're like, hey, I got a story, and you sent it to me, which meant a lot. Like I felt very privileged that you would think enough of me to say, hey, I want to share this with him, and interesting story. And so I'm excited to see what happens and where you go. I hope somehow you're involved in this. I hope somehow you're that we see your ministry grow, that maybe we help springboard you, or even if we're not a part of it and you're not a part of this, maybe we can support your ministry and you support ours, or however the Lord lays it out.
Right,
but
for
God
sure.
has a plan and a purpose, and I feel very honored that I got to meet you and that I get to spend some time with you every so often, especially at work.
Yeah, same here.
But we're gonna excuse me, we're gonna wind it down now, and we want to say an extra special thank you to Chaz Garcia for taking the time out today to come spend time with us. It means so much.
Yeah,
like
fun.
just and if you watched the first episode, he was like scared to death. That's the impression I got, and then now it's like we need to pour a couple glasses of bourbon and just keep recording for a few hours, which is cool to see somebody kind of you can just kind of see it, you relax.
Right.
And thank you so much for your time and
Thanks for having
and
me.
everything. We want to continue to pray for Matt Carter and his family. We want to really protect his family and protect him. He will be back. I spent a little time with him this morning. I saw him at church. He was running the sound booth, so it's not like he's dying right now. He just is going through some stuff, and he actually had called me and said, shoot an episode without me. And I told him, hey, no problem. We'll do whatever you need. So keep him in your prayers. Also, continue to like, share, subscribe to the channel. We're on multiple streaming sites. It helps the channel, helps the algorithm, helps us grow the ministry. And as we get better, hopefully this whole thing gets better. Again, we want to say a special shout out to Randy Barr, our producer, and the 2 Bar Blue Studio. We thank you so much for the ability to be here and the things that you do to make me look so good on camera. Camera does literally add 15 pounds. I'm much skinnier in real life. Again, to Matt Carter, we love you. All that call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. This is Battleground Believers. Have a great day.